Hello, traders. Because of Eddie coming to you from theclosingprint.com, June 23rd, 2024. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the indices which bounced off support, closing 14 points above that level on Friday, triple witching. Now that that major OPEX is behind us, we'll look for prior established support and resistance levels fading away, making room for the options market to renegotiate new key levels this week. That said, we have 9 bullish indicators for the week, 5 neutral, and 6 bearish. Again, the most important thing for us to be watching is the rotation that we saw, with some money coming out of tech into value stocks to continue this week. The implied move for the past couple of weeks has been very narrow, so we weren't very surprised to see price action stay above the 9 EMA in a very narrow range into this OPEX, bouncing off of support at 54.50 and remaining above major gamma resistance, the call wall situated at 5,500 just overhead. This week we'll be looking for options to fill in and for dealers to renegotiate support and resistance levels going into the JP Morgan collar rotation at the end of the week. We do note well above average volume, a distribution day, if you will, on Friday. RSI still remains above 70. MACD and stochastics unchanged for the most part. So it's very important for short-term traders to keep an eye on the flows this week, with all the value sectors showing up in the leading quadrant to end the day, and tech lagging. There is a potential for tech to pick up again and see some buyers. So if you're one of those people that are looking for tech to be bought, we have to see the evidence on Monday and Tuesday and watch for these sectors to stay strong to start on Monday. With that rotation, we did see a little bit of weakness in the New York FANG index, 10 stocks, pulling back to the 9 EMA. There's an equal possibility that we could bounce off the 9 EMA or go down and test the 21-day. Watch for these stocks to continue higher. As Charlie Bolello pointed out, many people are expecting NVIDIA to continue higher, but it needs to grow at a rapid pace while maintaining its record profit margins, with the big three, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Apple, and net income showing that NVIDIA has potential to catch up with Microsoft and Apple, as NVIDIA continues to show profit margins exceeding that of the two, despite its lofty price-to-sales ratio at 21 times. This is a significant premium over Microsoft at 12 times and Apple at 8 times. So if you're thinking NVIDIA, it needs to continue to perform like it has been in recent months. Despite the fade in the New York FANG index, it's only 10 stocks. Keep in mind that the Qs, while fading, is above the 9 EMA, and it was only 2 days off of the all-time highs. MACD is turning, RSI is moving a bit lower. We have major support below. To help support potential rotation, there is a possibility with 9 bullish indicators and 5 neutral that the bulls can retake lost ground. It's something that we'll be watching very closely tonight when futures open and tomorrow morning when we get started at the opening bell. Probably one of the most important things that I'm watching is the bond market, how junk bonds and the 10-year are set up to start the week, with junk bonds showing risk on, grinding along its bullish 9 and 21-day moving averages. Bollinger Bands are opening up somewhat, with the 10-year yield holding near recent lows at 4.2, 4.3% last week. We're expecting this to continue to fade, as the expectation is the Fed is going to cut rates at some point, so bond traders are more than likely ahead of the curve, anticipating yields will move lower. If yields can manage to move lower, we'd expect to see IWM resurface above its 50-day moving average in the short term, along with growth stocks regaining its footing, with XLK basically closing flat for the week, gaining only 0.3%, but above the previous week's high. and above a bullish 10 EMA weekly. So where does all this leave us if we're just considering investing time frames, weekly, monthly? This is the TRBCX T. Rowe Price Blue Chip Growth Fund. It's one of our barometers. We are up 94% since the bear market low in 2022, and we continue to show signs of strength. RSI is above 70. Looking for and anticipating some consolidation in the short term. For now, we continue to barrel higher into the end of June and a seasonally strongest month of the year for technology, July, just around the corner. So if you're looking for an edge this week, I'm thinking it's going to be the risk-on indicators that we follow, like junk bonds. In this weekly depiction, you can see it's grinding along its bullish 10 EMA weekly. In addition to some strength that we saw last week in biotechs, if we continue to see this with rotation becoming more bullish, if we do break out, that'd be two very strong bullish risk-on indicators to start the week into July, with a neutral signal in our third risk-on, risk-off signals in small caps, just below its 10 EMA, flattening out. Looks like it could be some distribution. So if you're bullish, you definitely want to see this ETF higher as well and back above its 10 EMA weekly. The final risk-on, risk-off signal is risk-off at the moment, with Bitcoin closing below its 10 EMA. Looks like distribution at highs. So if you are thinking bullish into July, we need to see this bounce right back above its 10 EMA and head back towards 72 to 73,000. In addition to junk bonds moving higher and the 10-year moving lower, the opposite can be said for TLT, moving the opposite direction of yields. This is looking bullish. The 10 EMA's turned up. We've based for a few weeks. We're looking for the 10-year to grind lower, and for TLT, if you're interested in trading bonds, to continue its path higher and retest these highs that we saw back at the end of 2023. Right near 99 to 100, something to look forward to over the next several weeks. In addition, gold bugs, silver traders are looking for this price action to stay above the bullish 10 EMA. It looks like distribution. If you're bullish, you want to see this move back up into the top of the range, along with silver. And if you're paying attention, this is a economically sensitive metal. Copper is giving us a bearish to neutral signal. This needs to bounce as well to indicate that the economy is fine. Many are expecting the economy to slow down. This is preceding that by about 5 weeks. Crude oil, for the most part, is staying range bound. It's in the middle of its range. We did see some buying over the last 3 weeks with a hammer 3 weeks ago, with commodities remaining range-bound near recent highs. 12 weeks in a row, we've been just chopping around in a range. If you're bullish equities, you want to see this roll over as well, not head to the highs. If that were to happen, all the other indicators we just talked about would most likely reverse. So the odds are this is going to stay range-bound or drift below the neutral 10 EMA into the summer. As previously mentioned, biotechs remain risk on above all of its moving averages. RSI is rising, volume increasing on Thursday, Friday. There might be a trade here. We've got a higher low in stochastic. MACD's turning and volume increased on Thursday and Friday. Real estate showed strength, rotation above the 921.50 200-day moving averages. All of those are flat for the most part. So I'd look at this as more neutral to bullish. Transports, double bottom, starting to move back toward its 50-day moving average. Just consider Old Dominion Freight. A lot of people traveling to Europe, so airlines are doing well. With many traveling to Europe on a strong U.S. dollar, having an impact on the cruise lines, airlines, and travel and leisure stocks. With materials also showing strength, holding at the 100 period moving average, looking for a move back above its 9 and 21 day. Keep an eye on RSI if you're trading anything in the materials sector, like Freeport-McMoRan, which many of the portfolio managers have been talking about over the last couple of weeks, Brent Talkington and Joe Terranova in particular. So watch for volume to continue, MACD and stochastic to turn, and for RSI to continue this trend higher. If you're trading anything in the materials sector, that's a good group to watch. Along with the communications group, Google, Netflix, Charter, Disney, and Meta. With Google on the watch list again this week, looking for a breakout. Along with the strength that we've noted in Netflix, continuing along its bullish 9, 21, 50, 200-day moving averages on above average volume last week. While Meta shows a bit of consolidation, you could make the case for a cup and handle. Anyone that's looking to sell will be exhausted more than likely in this area. We don't want to see above average volume on the sell side. So that's an indication that we have to pay attention to if you're trading Meta this week. Watch for the volume to taper off or for the volume to pick up and for the stock to break to the upside. For now, this one's a laggard and less interesting compared to Google and Netflix. We're watching for rotation into more value stocks like energy. That sector looking pretty good on Thursday. Hit the moving average on Friday and got rejected. So we're looking for a follow through this week. Financials, the banks, the brokers, the insurance companies, looking for this continuation and a retest of the highs in XLF with MACD turning, stochastics rising, RSI right at 50. Industrials also seeing some rotation, a hammer or a hanging man candle on Friday, looking for a push back above 124, 125. That would help support the S&P 500 with the case of rotation, along with consumer staples above its 921.50 200-day moving averages, hanging out near the upper half of its recent range, and a potential wild card in healthcare, XLV, pharmaceuticals, medical device makers, healthcare providers, looking for this to break out to new highs. Volume has been looking really good over the last few weeks, with the exception of the previous week. We did see a little dip back to the 9 and 21 day, but this looks pretty good for a follow through to the upside. MACD and stochastics turning, RSI rising, volume increasing, showing us that we could see a follow through in healthcare stocks this week. Finally, if you're bullish, you definitely want to see consumer discretionary, XLY, bullish, trending higher. That's what we're seeing at the present time. We have RSI rising as well, 921 moving back up above the 50-day moving average over the last couple of weeks, volume increasing, MACD bullish, and RSI rising. Finally, for those of you who follow this indicator, XLY, XLP, when you have XLY outperforming consumer staples, XLP, that's a bullish signal. When the opposite's the case, it's a bearish signal. We've seen both, with the most recent turning more bullish this week. If this turns back up, that would indicate that institutions are positioning in more consumer discretionary names and that you should be less defensive if this continues. Keep an eye on the stocks from the IBD 50 list that look like they could follow through. There's many of these that look really strong and have turned higher. In particular, I'm watching Google and Netflix. Royal Caribbean also looks very strong. Not to mention all of these stocks from the oversold stochastic scan. Many of these are looking very strong and look for a follow through. So watch this list of stocks below. With a strong dollar, we're looking for travel and leisure stocks to continue higher. With Royal Caribbean, specifically looking for this to get back above its 21-day moving average. Volume to pick up, stochastics and MACD are set up and ready to turn. RSI is rising, but still at 50. So watch this one. It's trading in an area where we haven't seen supply before, 52-week highs. So there'll be a little resistance as we move back up to that recent high. Booz Allen Hamilton, heavy into government contracts, bouncing off the 50-day moving average all of last week. Friday, over a week ago, we reversed off the 50-day. Volume started to increase into this shortened week. We did follow through on Thursday. Looking for a follow through this week as MACD and stochastics suggest RSI rising. Look for Booz Allen Hamilton to continue higher. Above these volume by price bands, there's very little supply overhead to hold back new positions. Transport's doing very well. This is Costamare, shipper. Nice follow through last week. Monday, Tuesday, we're off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, follow through. Volume picking up. MACD and stochastics turning, showing signs that institutions like what they see at Costamare. With the company recently reporting on May 10th, it doesn't report again until August. When all four of these are green, look for these fundamental factors to support a technical chart that we see presently in Costamare, or a continuation of this pattern if you're thinking bullish. I don't want to chase it, but if it starts to open strong on Monday, look for a follow-through this week. Twist Biosciences, above average volume on Friday, looking for a follow-through. Stochastics, MACD, both turning. RSI is above 50. Look for this one to negotiate this pennant or little channel to the upside. If it breaks out to the upside, that would be a bullish indication. And with Bollinger Bands paralleling the 20-day, look for a grind higher. Additional stocks from the stochastic oversold scan, looking very strong. You can see ACLX, Excelis, starting to ride the upper bands. It's above the 50-day, volume well above average on Friday. More importantly, this scan finds stochastics when it's turning and MACD rising. Look for price to accelerate above this level, as the cascade lower found fewer and fewer people buying, mostly selling into this area. So there's less supply as the stock moves higher. With the company reporting over a month ago, doesn't report again until August. You can see it beat expectations by 72.5%. Revenue growth, earnings growth, both very positive. Looking for this dip to inspire portfolio managers to pick up shares in this $50 biotech. Remember, XLV was looking very strong, so stocks from the group, biotechs, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, healthcare providers, should see some action this week as well. Additional stocks from the stochastics pop oversold scan. Ageo, we've traded this one before, bouncing off the 21-day. Note the volume, stochastics turning at 50. Alchemy Technology, ALKT, also turning, looking forward to get back above the 50 in the 20-day. Stochastics turning. Court Therapeutics, stochastics turning, volume picking up on Friday above the 50-day. Look for it to push back above 32 or so this week, back above the 20-day. Monday.com also bouncing near the 50-day. Stochastics turning higher, volume starting to pick up. News Corp, many of the communications group, as we mentioned earlier, with Meta, Google, Netflix, Charter, all moving higher. Look for News Corp to continue higher as well. Stochastics turning, volume well above average on Friday. NXPI looking for a bounce. RadNet looking pretty strong. Stochastics turning, volume well above average. A hammer on Friday, looking for a push back above 60. RDNT. Gaming stocks, Take-Two Interactive, turning. I believe Electronic Arts saw some action last week as well. Volume above average, stochastics turning. Price trying to get back above the 20-day, with the ladder up and to the right in a bullish trend. With these stocks indicating that there are many that are turning, not just the tech group. So make sure you're checking out some of the names that are listed down below, in addition to the IBD 50 list indicated. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday the 23rd, with your weekend video newsletter. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.